Mishka Shabali is catching up with friends who are arguably more talented than him.
Ahoy, hoy. This is Mishka Shabali, your erstwhile host of the Mishka Shabali podcast. God, I hate saying my name. My big, dumb name. Such a good episode today. I've been having like really sort of high caliber conversations with people lately that have been leaving me exhausted and thinking about the stuff that we've talked about for the rest of the week. I just recorded conversations with Josh Mallerman, I want to say the front man for the High Strung, but they're all the front men for the High Strung, every single one of them. And you may know him as the author of Bird Box and Mallory and a stack of other horror novels. Really great in-depth conversation with him. Also recorded a conversation with Andy Falkus of Future of the Left, McCluskey, Christian Fitness. Guy has made an incredible amount of records. And they're all surprisingly high quality, something which a complaint that I brought to his doorstep on the podcast. We had a surprisingly earnest, uplifting, even joyful conversation about making music. He's such an insightful and acerbic lyricist that I always expect him to be a little more judgmental. I don't know. Andy, I am disappointed by what lack of a prick you were. The conversation today is with Keith Buckley, who you may know as the author of two novels, Scale and Watch. He also used to sing from a band out of Buffalo called Every Time I Die. I met Keith a couple years ago, 5 years ago, 7, I'm not sure. We met at a reading in Buffalo and did that thing that band guys do of sort of warily circling each other that evening and not really connecting about anything, making sort of jokes here and there, but not really going all in. A lot of my guests, as soon as I met them, we were like puppies sniffing each other's butts, but it took a minute with Keith for us to warm up to each other, probably 24 hours. I don't know. We did a reading together in Buffalo. And then the next day I just got this beautiful, incredibly passionate email from him about how my book had appeared in his life at the time that he needed it. He had stayed up all night reading it and how much it touched him and how much it meant to him. And it was so disarming for me to have the singer in a legendary hardcore band just communicate that openly and that guilelessly about his thoughts and his feelings, and to just express open admiration for any other person's work. When I was playing music in Brooklyn, everybody was so prickly, and that sucks. It's dumb. But Keith and I got to be really good buddies, and he's been through some shit lately. And I'm grateful for it because it pushed me to reach out again. And we had this conversation that has just been sort of rattling around in my brain since we had it. I think there's a lot happening there with self-knowledge and forgiveness and trying to earnestly figure shit out in your life without resorting to pat Instagram inspirational sentiments and whatnot. But I'm really proud of this one. I think it's one of my best podcasts to date. So here's Keith Buckley. Enjoy. I feel like dog shit this morning, actually. How are you doing?
Why? Well, let's get why. I mean, I'm okay. I don't feel like dog shit, I guess, but let's figure your situation out first. What's up?
I'm just tired. I just haven't woken up. I got up at 5:15 and went and ran and worked out and never got to the point where it feels good. Just like underwater suffering the whole time.
Why do you do that to yourself?
I don't I don't know. I tell myself that I Hate running less than I fear dying. But
Okay.
when you get deep into the run, you fear dying less and less.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah. I can't even, I mean, I honestly, I don't know anybody other than you that runs marathons. It's hard for me to sort of co-opt the mindset. I can't imagine what it's like to have that much determination. It's like an unfathomable amount of human will.
it's funny because in the whatever the endurance circle or that scene or whatever, I'm like a fucking short timer.
Really?
That yeah, because I think I only did one marathon last year, and people will go out and do like a marathon a day for 100 days and like just absolutely like bonkers shit like that. And it is really weird to me because I can't, usually when I do a marathon, I'm like, okay, that's enough. I'm done. I'm ready to be, finished. I can't imagine but I mean, the day after a race, I always am like, I could have done more, or
Really?
like, I was still running at the end, and then I'm sure you've had this thing at the end of a tour where it's long and it's grueling and it's awful and it's exhausted. And then you get home and then the next day around sound check, you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah. It's really rough. The transition from tour to home and back again was, you'd think that after 20 or so years, it would become sort of an art form with a very specific order of steps, to transition. But I never, ever got used to it. It's just this sense of purposelessness that really, really starts to inform a lot of your decisions. It's not even whether or not you feel comfortable where you are. It's just, that you haven't been there for long and you're definitely not going to be there for much longer. So, what do you get attached to? What do you value? I mean, I always feel like in the last days of tour, my body was really, really good at staving off a lot of the intense reactions and then just sort of backloading them, like, when I would get home and finally my mind would enter into relaxation mode, then my body would relax and then it would go, oh my God, everything's broken. Only then do I realize how much damage I had done.
Yeah. I remember like, when I was sort of like really going hard when I was living in New York and just like waking up in the band's practice space because I got too fucked up to walk home and shit like that.
Oh man.
And there were times where like my mother would call and I wouldn't pick up because I was sort of barely holding it together. But I knew that if I got sympathy from my mother, that I would just crumble,
Oh my God. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Sorry. Continue. I just said, no one's ever said that to me before. Yes.
That's it. That's the whole thing, is that, and I mean, maybe that is part of why we're so hard on each other on the road is, because I think sometimes I remember doing, a gig. I feel like I've told this story before, but a gig in Long Beach, and at the end of the show, the bartender paid us. And we were sort of on our way out, and she like looked at me and she was like, "Do you need a hug?" And I was like, "Yeah." And like she gave me a hug, and then she looked at like the other guys, and then she was like, "All right, next." And like she was just and like what a fucking angel,
Of course. It's always it's always a woman that will usually recognize that in a man, but yeah, it's just something you take for granted and you don't think you need it. But I think people like you and I who understand that the weight of actual human connection after being disconnected for so long will just destroy the dam that you've built up, So it's like, I don't want to let anybody get close because like there's a lot of shit that I'm repressing here that just any sort of sympathy will really elicit so much oversharing that I don't want to do that to you. So just don't come near me right now,
Well, Keith, that's why I'm here, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I just had to learn how to channel it. It got to the point where I was thinking that, okay, I can't do that to any other human being. Like, I don't want to do that. I've been repressing too much stuff for too long. Anybody that shows me the littlest kindness now is really going to be in for a therapy session. So it's like, I don't do that, but that meant I never did it. And instead of just putting it in the right channels and talking to someone that I actually trusted, I just didn't talk at all.
Yeah. I feel like we've all had that experience of you're on the bus and you see somebody who's like struggling and you're like, hey man, how you doing? Like, I'm just going to spark up a conversation and, and then they tell you,
yeah.
And you wish you hadn't asked and you're like,
right.
Oh, holy shit, man. And then, and then flash forward 5, 10, 20 years. And then you become that person on the bus.
Yeah. Right. I think the problem with that that whole situation, the whole environment around really talking to strangers like that is that, usually when they tell you're like, oh my God, that's so heavy. It's so depressing. I can't think of anything else other than this guy's. But then, if you really, really, really think about it, that was probably a moment where a lot could have been learned had it not been judged by how much weight there was to it. Do you know what I mean? Instead of getting to the actual like meat of the interaction, everyone is just so quick to be like, oh, too heavy, or, total, I don't need to know what you're telling me.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm trying to sort of gather this whole thing together of like the experience we have of, having gone through COVID together and separately. And one of the things that I think has played out again and again in my life and in a lot of our lives is how to tell someone bad news, how to hear bad news from somebody, how to express empathy, and how not to say the wrong thing. I would always get this, my cat would die and and somebody would be like, oh, she's in a better place now. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. She was in a good place already.
Yeah, how
right?
do you know her place was awful?
She was here with me. We were happy.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's what heaven is. It's the same kind of place.
Yeah, exactly. I found that and I like to think that I'm a smart dude with something to say, who's capable of listening and hearing and responding to things that people say, and having heard so much bad news and having had to share so much bad news with people and then get fucking weird, horrible, like, oh, silver lining responses. I feel like the best, smartest thing you can say to somebody is just like, that fucking sucks and I'm sorry.
Yes.
To acknowledge that it's big and it's horrible, but also not to be like, whoa, man, that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Right. Yeah, you said this on the phone to me the other day, and I actually almost just quoted you to yourself. Because I was like, I was talking to my friend the other day. He said something that really stuck with me. No, when you said like the worst thing you can say is nothing. And that absolutely is, because if you don't have to unload any grief off of anyone else, you don't have to come up with a solution. But like you said, acknowledging it makes people feel less alone. And sometimes that's all they need, and it's not that this person is understanding my suffering by any means, but I'm not crazy because other people agree that it's bad. You know what I mean? At least other people can see it too. And I'm not the only one walking around being like, should I even be upset about this? And then if so, to what degree? There's a lot of decision making in like, what is even worth suffering for? Or, is there some suffering that has a point? Is there some that doesn't? Maybe we don't even have to get into those downward spirals of self-talk. If someone were just to say, hey, I noticed you're going through some shit. I understand that sucks. Let me know if you need anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. maybe this says a lot about who I am as a person, but there's almost no better feeling to me than to suffer with somebody I love. That feeling of connection. Like the last weekend I just went out to LA for Lanigan's funeral, and
yes.
I already sort of half told this story, but I need to tell it to you. Because there's a lot there that I think I want to talk about. I felt weird going there, that I wasn't as cool as some of his other friends and, other people in the music industry with much higher profiles and stuff, people who have known him for 30 years, and I felt weird too, that my grief about losing him has been awkward or gauche, or that I haven't grieved correctly, or, because when something hurts me, I'm very loud about it for a short period of time, and then I'm able to move on, and so went to the funeral, and immediately I felt better about not wearing a suit, because everybody there was just fucking dirtbags in black jeans, and I was like, I don't even have the most amount of cat hair on me,
right. Yeah.
And then we went into the chapel, and like I didn't really know where to sit, and a couple of friends sat on my left side, and then a guy came and sat down on my right side, and the guy who sat down on my right side was Slash.
Wow.
And the Guns N' Roses were like my gateway drug into this whole dirty business of rock and roll, and I've honestly been waiting for 35 years to tell him, like, bro, those fucking tasty licks, you
had and now's your chance.
Yeah,
right next to you at a funeral.
Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned something about him. People were like, "Oh, I know you got a selfie with him," and I'm like, "No, I fucking didn't."
Yeah,
like we were there. We were there to like bury one of my heroes.
Exactly.
But there was, people got up and told stories about Mark, talked about what a terrible guitar player he was, which is true, and talked about some the beautiful things about him, and also the more than one person mentioned like what a prick he could be,
right?
And at one point, Slash and I laughed at the same time at the same line, and it was such a good feeling to. We were both there to honor our friend and to and to remember him, and I've been in such pain about it, to have Slash laugh at the same time that I did, I just felt we were in it together,
right?
And then later when they were putting his ashes in the vault, I started crying, and I look and I felt self-conscious about it, and I looked over and I saw somebody else crying, and then I was okay. I was like, fuck it, let him see me cry.
Of course. Absolutely.
And I suspect you've had this too, with the you have a low opinion of yourself and the work that you do. And
I did. It's getting better. Better.
And you've probably felt surprise when people told you, oh, your music really helped me get through a hard year. It took me a long time to figure out that, because we don't write particularly uplifting, inspirational.
No.
But what they were saying was that you were lonely, or you were angry, or you were grieving, or you were lost, and you expressed it in a way that made sense to me, and that spoke to me feeling those same negative feelings too. And then I knew that I wasn't alone.
Right.
And that's the most powerful shit, man.
It really is. It is something that I can only marvel at. I can't understand it. I've been trying to. I don't know what it is about me or the way that I express it that connects with certain people in such a singular, specific way. But I'm just thankful for it. I mean, I really since the band ended, and even, for the last few years, I've been trying to understand what it is. Like, what is it about this breed of negativity, or what is it about this species of self-loathing that other people connect to? And I don't know if this is true, but I have a theory that the reason people kept connecting to the negative in the lyrics was because it was offset and often sort of relieved by the humor aspect of it, And actually, I think that the story you told just kind of proves the point, in that you and Slash connected over the laughter in the sorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was not just the sorrow. It was the laughter that was present in the sorrow. That's where the connection was. So I really feel like maybe it was because all the negativity, while I still definitely like dug deep as far as I could and wasn't afraid to be vulnerable about it, I did make sure to provide some levity with humor, in any way that I could. And because humor is so specific, that maybe it wasn't the negativity that people were connecting with. Maybe it was my sense of humor about all the negativity, And I just wonder if that's maybe at the core of more relationships than we know.
The band also presented struggle in such a great way. There was a great documentary that actually Lanigan turned me on to, and I think it's called The Struggle. And not My Struggle, maybe it's just called Struggle, but it was about a Polish sculptor, and the sculpture that it references is, I believe, it's a hand with the thumb facing down the other four fingers, and if you think about it, our thumb is responsible for human evolution. I mean, the thumb is what made us able, but the thumb is opposing the other fingers. And
interesting.
One of the things that I loved about Every Time I Die is that the lyrics were often about sort of wry hopelessness or frustration or darkness or nihilism. But then contrasted with the band, y'all were not a goth rock band. It was definitely, the sonically very much an assertion of life. It was a live thing, absolutely thrashing around and full of life. And I think that the contrast between those two is one of the things that was really,
thank you. I feel like that was essential, and even the name of the band sort of, implies a cyclical nature. So the life and death sort of, that's essentially at the source of everything is, what we think about one or the other. So, to just kind of have them in such vivid, stark contrast right in front of your eyes that it's like, the mood is solemn and the music is loud and irritating and the air is like weird, but it's alive, it's the essence of it.
Yeah. I always felt like there was a joke in there somewhere about like a CPAP machine.
Like, we were getting there. Almost a few more years.
One of the things that I always got when I was younger, when I was still fucked up, and then also a lot when I was in early sobriety, is people would ask me like how I was, and then they would say, "No, man, really, how are you?" And it's that fucked up thing that I want to saddle you with now. the last couple of months, you've been through the fucking ringer, man. Can I ask how you got sober? What precipitated you getting sober? And I don't know, how are you doing these days?
I promise you, I swear, I'm great. I honestly, every day I feel a little bit better about something that I used to feel really bad about. The sobriety has just cleared so many things up for me. I used to, I think one of the biggest fears I had about trying to always go sober before, and the reason it never really stuck, was because my network of friends and relatives, it just didn't work. I would just have to replace them all. There was literally no one in my life that didn't drink. I mean, you know, it was a culture of alcoholism in Buffalo, especially, you know, in my family. And I was just like, okay, no, that's obviously not the right way to go about living. Like, I can't just be like, I don't want to drink anymore, and then never talk to all these people that I love. And I kept trying to find a balance, and it never ever worked. And then in the pandemic, I was like, okay, you know what? I actually can do it now and not have to worry about the network, because I'm not going to be out in public, so I can really get sober. And I was like, let's go. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm an alcoholic. Like, I couldn't stop. I was like, I couldn't get sober if I wanted to. So, you know, I really had to, you know, like I said, just have a come to God moment and be like, I have nothing to do but surrender. Like, I don't know what to do with my life. Like, I am miserable in every way, shape, and form. And my dog, that energy to grow. Like, I'm just emanating negativity all the time. This is terrible. Something's got to change. And yeah, through a very, you know, I consider miraculous series of events, I was let out of my former marriage. I'll say that. And now I am happily remarried, and the relationship with my daughter is amazing. And I know that it looks like I've gone through the ringer to people that never really understood my relationship within the band and within my other relationships. But to the people that know me, it looks like the growth that it is, because they can see what I went through, and they know from talking to me in the past and the present, they know that this was kind of inevitable and something that needed to happen for any sort of, you know, still waters to start flowing again. I honestly, I feel good. Like, I feel creative.
One of the things like, we never hung out in person that much, but one of the things that I felt in the past hanging out with you was that here was a man who was under tremendous pressure. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of that pressure came from you to be the good son, to be the good father, to be the good husband, to be the good bandmate, and to try to be everything to everyone. And right. And that's, I mean, one of the things that I definitely perceive now, you know, talking to you the other night and talking to you now, is that I feel like there's a lot less pressure there.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I realized that about myself. I realized that I demanded such perfection of myself in every avenue of my life, that I didn't have a personality left. You know, I was just trying to be perfect and trying to be perfect and trying to be perfect, but not being anyone or anything, you know, just the perfect thing that was required at that time. I think that comes from the fact that I am naturally a submissive person. So, you know, in trying to help people, especially growing up with a disabled sister, I was the oldest child, and my youngest sister was disabled. So I was always helping, or, you know, trying to, and that eventually, you know, with alcohol and a mix of just not having the right influences in my life, just, I started trying to impress the wrong people, and I started serving and trying to please the wrong people. And I just did it for so long that it became normal. But I kind of realized during the pandemic, when no one was around, like, okay, I want to be a good father in whose eyes? Like, who am I trying to look good to? Because I don't believe in God. So like, what is all this? Who am I trying to impress? So I realized that I was only trying to impress the people that were never going to allow me the chance to grow anyway. You know, it was their low opinion of me that kept me trying to please them, and they knew that, and that became a very manipulative angle in a lot of my relationships. But once I realized that the people I was trying to impress didn't really even like me. They were looking for reasons to be mad at me. You know, I just wanted to make sure I never gave them a reason. And that was a lot of pressure, you know, and you saw, but without that pressure and a true understanding of what I am living for and who I'm living for, it's much different. It just kind of, the situations I find myself in have changed completely. It almost seems, you know, it's not paranoia, it's pronoia. Like I feel like the universe is working in my favor now. It's so completely different.
It's I always sort of imagine myself to be a person who goes his own way and does his own thing, and you know, I know how to start a fire. I look good in a flannel shirt, you know, the rugged individual. And my therapist pointed out to me last year that I'm a people pleaser. And I was like, you know, get the fuck out. And then once I started being able to see it, then I could see it everywhere. And Jesus, you know, if you're a performer up on stage, like we're professional people pleasers, you know, and you can take it to, you know, of like you know, you got to be cool with the drummer and you got to be cool with, you know, with security because we want to play here again. And we got to be cool with the promoter. And like, you know, obviously fans pay money to come out and see us fucking do our thing. You know, we got to deliver for them. And then it's easy to turn yourself into just an equation.
Yes.
That, you know, somebody put something in and you spit something out. And I found myself, like when I was doing shows, when people would come up to me after the show, the first thing that I would ask them is, you know, oh, you know, how do you know about me or whatever, to find out if they knew about me through Rich Roll, who's, you know, vegan, you know, health conscious, endurance athlete, sober, or Stanhope, you know, the iconoclast, you know, drunken comedian. Yeah. So because then if I knew how they knew me, then I would know how to please them, what to give them, which person to be. You know? And I wonder if you had a similar experience of the trying to be all things to all people.
I did, very much. And it took me asking the question that you did, which was, what angle are you coming at me from? Like, honestly, that's really it. Like, where are you coming from? Do you believe in me? Or do you want to just have front row at my failures? Like, I really had to separate those things and understand what was motivating the people in my life, you know, and there was only one way to truly understand, and that was to ask them to their face, you know, I mean, and I had to do that. I had to, and even if I got one answer that, you know, depending on how much I knew that person, I could begin to then apply that filter and realize, oh, okay, well that, you know, that makes sense because of these behavioral patterns that I've noticed that are very damaging to me that I keep sort of attracting, you know? And it was like just maintenance and damage control. And, you know, as you and I, as people pleasers, probably of an elite degree, I'll say, I think more than others, you know, it's hard to be in a group of people with who are not people pleasers. And not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that if they're not, that, and I am, think of how much I have to compensate for, you know? Yeah. And that's not fair to them because it's not necessarily that they're asking me to do it, but I feel it incumbent upon myself as a people pleaser, you know? So it starts guiding me in all these directions that are just very antithetical and I'll say disharmonious with the things I would do naturally. And I never even understood what I would do naturally. I never even knew myself, you know, before I'm trying to give everything to other people. But what is everything? Like, I'm offering them pretty much nothing more than some time and a body that can lift something, you know. I just realized that needs to be devoted to people who love you and care about you and want to watch you, you know, believe that you can help yourself at least.
The one of the things I keep thinking about is, when all you have is a hammer, you see everything as a nail.
Yeah.
And the inverse is true when you're a people pleaser, is that I remember being like, how do I make this cop like me? And then like, who fucking cares?
Right. And who fucking cares? Yes.
Every time I just did a podcast with my friend Louisa, and she's great, and she's not a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, if somebody doesn't agree with my opinion, and that hurts their feelings, that's their problem. Mm-hmm. I'm just expressing an opinion. It's not an attack. And, if it hurts their feelings, that's fine. I can live with that, and I get stuttering apoplectic. Like, what? Like, you just hurt people's feelings, so it's
pre-guilt. You have guilt just built in.
Yes.
And I understand. Okay, so what your friend is I'm gonna just gonna do a thought experiment. So if when I was you in situations like that, I would see someone like that and assume they were inconsiderate because they weren't accounting for every single element in the room before making a decision like I did. And I thought that the way that I did it was the right way. And I was like, how can you just hurt people's feelings and not care? But the answer to that question is, one, who the fuck says you're going to hurt somebody's feelings? That's not automatic. Like, you actually might be able to make more friends that way. And two, it's the whole sort of, it's not the action, it's the reaction. Like, if you're telling your truth and you're being yourself and you're expressing your honest opinion and someone is offended, that's on them. Because smart, intelligent, curious people don't get offended. They just don't. They know how to handle that interaction.
Yeah.
So if the person is getting offended, they're not anyone who's going to listen to you anyways. So don't waste your time.
Well, hello there. My name is Cheeto. I am an adorable little three-legged puppy, and as you all know, adorable little three-legged orphan puppies all care about quality podcasts. And I want you all to know that I subscribe to the Patreon for the Mishka Shabali podcast, and you should too. It's the only thing I like more than kibble. Nom nom. So please head on over to patreon.com/Mishka Shabali, sign up. There's all kinds of good crap there. There's writing advice and tips. There's unpublished stories. There's a bunch of demos, a bunch of sort of loose dispatches from his life. And I don't know, just really good stuff that adorable three-legged orphan puppies named Cheeto really love. And you will too. So patreon.com/Mishka Shabali. All the proceeds will go to puppy food for orphans or other things. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's so tricky though, man. My girlfriend is a people pleaser too. Mm-hmm. And we spent the weekend together, and I was trying to do things to make her happy and make sure that she had a magical weekend. Cause that's what I do and what we do. And then I didn't, or I couldn't get the validation from her that I wanted, that like, you're a good boy, here's a gold star for a perfect weekend. Because she's a people pleaser too. And so for me to try to do all these things for her made her deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes. I can see that. You guys are both submissive personalities then,
Yeah.
And I think you're going to need something to balance. I think you and I are just kindred spirits. I'll just say that. Like you and I just feel weird, we look right? At the world in the same way. Yeah. I absolutely. But our view of everything is very much aligned. I mean, maybe like a little degree off here and there, but I feel like, so when I hear what you're saying, I try to put myself in the situation and then see if anything comes out of it. But not that I want to try to please your girlfriend. I'm not trying to do that. I just think that, like, okay, so if it's two people pleasers, that means there has to be double the amount of dominance to our submission, sort of thing. Like, we need to figure out what can compensate for those dominant, submissive personalities, because that needing validation is a very submissive thing, and giving validation is a very dominant thing. And sometimes people really want to be dominant, but they don't want to seem aggressive or violent, or, you know.
Yeah.
It's very particular to the relationship, and like the sort of unspoken contract or spoken contract that you have with your partner, you know. But I don't know. I would honestly, if I would talk to her about that, like, just be like, are you a more submissive person? Are you a dominant person, like, in your life? And I'm not talking about sexuality, like lifestyle dominant or lifestyle submissive, because it's just people missing that balance.
What I think, you know, I think finally made it sort of make sense for me was I tried to think how I would feel if somebody went out of their way to make sure that I had a perfect weekend. Yeah. And it would cause me mountains of anxiety, and I can see you squirming too. Oh my gosh, you know, I know. For somebody to do a nice thing for you, you're like, you know what?
Because I see this like mental scenario of like you or I, like, in a situation that makes us uncomfortable, and we start second guessing, and then there's just like this door next to us that says, like, you know, pit of hypotheticals, and we're like, all right, here we go, you know. And it's like, no, don't, the hypotheticals shouldn't matter. Like, how are, you know, in this very situation, you know, and then you end up spending so much time thinking about it that by the time you figure out what you want to do, it's way too late. So, you know.
The endless projections.
Yeah.
There's this great cartoon by Jim Woodring, and it's a naked man standing in front of two doors, and one says better and better, and the other says worse and worse. And then in the second panel, he walks through the door that says worse and worse. And I was just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Totally feel that.
That's what we identify with.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend Ed on the run this morning. The kind of a cool anniversary for us. He and I, his father has been unwell, and he and I started running, and I've been unwell. I've been sick in the fucking head, and we started running together around this time last year, and it's been a year for us, and we've run twice or three times just about every week for a year, and it's awesome. But one of the things we were talking about is, you know, Ed said, you know, there's only one person in your life who's around for all of it, for the entire thing, you know, and that's you. And I said, maybe it's time to like make friends with that person.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is.
You know, because I think when you're an addict or an alcoholic, you spend your whole day like 51-49, you know, where 51% of you is trying to prevent the other 49% from taking you down. Yeah. You know, and undoing like all the hard work that you've done. And it gets absolutely exhausting. I want to ask this, and this is actually more for, you know, I guess I want to ask as specifically as you feel comfortable going into detail about like what your bottom looked like what communicated to you that you were an alcoholic. And the reason that I ask this question is because, and this is so shitty, but I'll cop to it, is that whenever I'm talking to friends who have struggled with addiction, I'm always I either judge them negatively, like, oh, you weren't as fucked up as I was, or or man, that's really cool that you were injecting Coke, that,
Right.
like
right. Yeah.
but I feel like we hung out once after you'd maybe had a couple of beers, but like I couldn't tell. But I've never seen you drinking. I've never seen you drunk. You and I've only ever had interactions where we're having long, high speed conversations like this of like, no, I think you're totally right, bro. And so I've never seen you on a tear or on a bender. Like what did that look like for you?
I don't know, because I also had to be the perfect drunk. I mean, I swear I had to not say anything too offensive. I had to not talk for too long. I had to not stare for too long. I had to not, everything was just don't. And then, all right, well, what fucking fun am I having? So then I realized that I've been drinking a very long time, not having any fun with drinking,
Oh
and
my
then,
God.
like
people drink to unwind, and effectively what you were doing was just doubling your workload because
absolutely.
you still had to be in control the entire time.
Yep.
And by drinking, you were just making it that much harder.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Jesus, Keith.
But
sorry, dude.
That's hey, man. It was so that was kind of down there near the bottom. And I think that when I realized that, and then I asked for help and I couldn't get it, that was proof that I needed it more.
Wow.
Because the only people I could ask for help were the ones that loved seeing me drunk, Yeah. So of course they're not gonna help. And then I was like, okay, well, I can do it by myself. It's fine. Like, I've done this before, no big deal. And when I realized I couldn't, I was like, this is really bad, like really bad. And then, I just cracked, and I was just like, I fucking surrender, So that's what I just had to start having the conversations. It's really all it was just like truth after truth after truth. And I just had to find them in the conversations to finally get to like what it was about codependency, or what it was about, just power. I mean, so much of my unhealthy relationships were only about power. And I was like, man, this is, it's going to suck to have these relationships with all of my friends, because this is heartbreaking. But the good thing was I only had to have it with one of them, and then everyone else just disappeared from my life. So it was kind of cool.
Sometimes people just like, just take their cue. One of the things I always struggled with AA and with the 12-step program was the first part of it, admitting that you're powerless, and my perception of it was always, that it had some like strange beauty to it. It always happened either in, the dawn hours, or, magic hour in the evening, the violins come up and there's, a person laying, spread eagled on their front lawn or whatever, that like weeping, and it's beautiful, And man, it doesn't look like that at all, dude. It's like fucking ugly, like but also I can't even describe it, because I feel like all the surrender, all the powerlessness that I've had in my life has been like the value menu version of powerlessness, where I'm like, well, I can't afford complete surrender.
Exactly.
So maybe I'll just get the baked potato and the chili.
Yes. I totally get that.
So I don't know. I'm envious of you that you can use the word surrender earnestly, and also I fear for you in the past that for what the mental anguish that you went through in that moment, to be able to say surrender and to ask for help and not get it. It's so hard to ask for help, man. And then
it was rough.
I think my logic when I was drinking was, I was like, I'm going to wait until I can't quit, and then I'll stop.
Yes, exactly right. That's the attitude. That's the North Star that you're following to your sobriety. And you're like, oh, well, it's the carrot at the end of the stick, and it's on my fucking, head. Like I'm putting it out there because I know it's an unachievable goal and I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I just, and the rebuilding, I mean, it wasn't even like, I say that I got sober and started rebuilding. Like, no. I got sober and then I had to destroy everything. And then I had to mourn, and then I had to plan. And now I'm starting to rebuild. But this has been like a 3-year process that, it's taken me through a marriage, a 20-year-old band, and a relationship with my parents. I mean, that all is gone within the same chunk of time. And it is wild to me that I don't know what I would do without sobriety and a supportive, loving partner. I mean, it's so essential to sobriety, is having support and someone next to you that really wants you to do well. I just wasn't used to that. It's crazy.
This, the thing about tearing down your old life, like, man, I feel like that, because there have been so many times where, I've been like, well, I'm out of control. I got to dial this back or whatever. And, I got to fix this. And then you go and like, pull down the wet piece of sheetrock and you're like, this fucking house is made of termites. The termites are the only thing that's keeping this thing upright,
Yeah.
And we just I don't need to hire a crew. I need to buy a bunch of gasoline.
Yes.
And just
burn it all.
Yeah. And just fucking burn it down and and not come back until the embers have died down.
Yeah. I don't know who put this impression into our heads as just humankind, but the idea that you shouldn't burn bridges. No, you have to. I mean, because the worst thing about a bridge is that when you're walking away from it, now it's just an attack that you can't see, because that's all it is. That if you have turned away from someone, but you haven't cut them off, they still have access to you and they will take it. Like, just because you're like, hey, I'm not monitoring this bridge anymore, please don't use it. You fucking using it because you're not looking at them, pickpocketing you. I mean, it's just, everyone has to get, everything must go. And the problem is that everyone is already defeat. I mean, the defeatist attitude is built in. And that's kind of the glaring problem. But I think underneath that, it's the fact that the defeatist attitudes are not just attitudes and they're not coming out of nowhere. It's because we are defeated. Like, we're truly defeated. So I'm defeated. I knew this house was falling apart. I just didn't look at it close enough. I refused to admit that I needed to start working a long fucking time ago, but it's too late now because this house is shit and the structure's destroyed. So burn it, I mean, I think people are like, oh, I feel too bad. And, but if you feel guilty about leaving someone, then they don't really want to see you succeed because, they should let you go do what you need to do to live and thrive. And if that doesn't include them, then that's on them to make it include them or get the fuck out of the way. I had to have these conversations with people.
Yeah, no, what you said just there about like, what if guilt is what's keeping you in a relationship, I'll never get married for many reasons, but one of the reasons is because if somebody wants to leave me and the only thing that is holding them to me is an agreement that we made with the fucking government, our relationship is dead.
Right. I mean, and you both have to admit it.
Yeah. Yes. You fucking throw the ring in my face and walk away. You know that, like, if you don't love me, then go, and I want people to, I would want people to have that freedom to sort of like wake up each morning and say, yeah, I choose to be here. I choose this. And I'm sure that there are fucking jackasses on the internet who are like, oh, Keith is weak. But people don't realize how fucking strong you actually need to be to end a relationship that's not working, or a relationship that's run its course.
Yeah.
Sometimes friendships end with with no spite, that you were like, oh, we see totally eye to eye, except with a couple of little degrees here and there. Those couple of little degrees here and there is one of the reasons we're able to stay friends, is because if it wasn't for that, we'd have nothing to fucking argue about on car trips and shit, you know?
Dude, I know that's the personality that I love about, that I'm finding out about my friends and the things like this, where instead of just trying to be the perfect friend, I'm just trying to be a really good Keith. And then I think you'll really like that person, you know?
Yeah.
And I just need to work on my presentation of myself, because I had no value anymore. Like, nobody around me valued me. I did not value myself. I felt nothing but shame. I mean, you know, there was at a certain point in my life, my only hope for my life was to die before my child found out my secrets. You know what I mean? Like, that shit.
Oh, dude.
It's like, I just can't, I have too much in me that I need to tell people, and nobody's listening to me and nobody's helping me. And it's like, this is all bad. This is all bad. It all has to go. And I took my daughter with me. I didn't kidnap her, but I was like, I'm not giving up on this. I am not giving up on my daughter. I will do whatever it takes to keep my daughter, you know, to find out who I am, so I can be the better father and not have moved too far away from her while I was figuring it out, you know? And what that means then is that she's bearing witness to some really uncomfortable growing pains for me, you know? But man, dude, she is the strongest. I mean, she was 2 months premature. I mean, you know, she barely had a chance at the beginning, but just the shit that she adapts to and the way that she moves, it's been such an inspiration to me, you know? It's just amazing to have her. She's been the guide, you know, this whole time.
That's wild to think about, you know, that I mean, for a premature child, each day they continue to live is a huge assertion of fuck you, I'm here.
Yes, I'm here. Yep.
And I used to train boxing with a friend before I left New York, and it did so much for me mentally, but I found that what made me feel better was not like dominating our sparring matches, but getting my ass beat. And I think part of that is, you know, masochistic and sort of like being into suffering.
Yeah.
But also that galvanizing experience of getting caught with your guard down, getting clocked in the face, and then being like, oh, holy shit, I'm still here. Like that. Yeah. That always made me feel stronger than running a new distance, or, you know, fucking lifting more at the gym or something. Well, I mean, running new distance, there is something there where you're, you know, when you're trying to go sort of longer than you have before, you're fighting attrition and, you know, the sort of forces that everything wants you to stop running. Right. You know, and you're just sort of asserting your will over that. I remember the worst thing about all this shit that you've had to go through is the curse of having a public life. Yeah. And, you know, reading these tweets and talking to a couple other people who are, you know, fans of the band, and just like worrying about you. And I didn't know what to say or how to reach you. You and I had been out of touch for a while. I didn't know if it was appropriate, if I was overstepping, but the thing that I kept coming back to, was just trust yourself. Yes. Because whether, and I think I peppered you with that like 4 different times, because whether you've been able to see yourself, you know, these last few years, I have. Yeah. Like I see you, and I see the man you are, the person you are, the friend you are, the way you care about people around you, the decisions that you make, you know, that if I had anything critical to say about you, it would be like, Keith, relax for a minute. I remember like going to see you play in Tempe, and like then after the show, I was like, oh, you know, awesome, we're gonna chill, and you were loading gear, and I was like, bro, you're the fucking singer. Like, no, let them and you were loading more shit than anybody else. And I was like, this, this guy needs to like read a rock bio or something. Like, you need to be a dick.
I couldn't. I had to be the perfect helper. I mean, it's just like everything about it was, and plus I liked helping. Like I said, it's just something I do. So, but then that gets taken advantage of the older you get. I never knew how to relax. I just felt buried by time. Like when I envisioned time as a concept, it was just heavy. It was just. And I'm under it, and there's just so much there's just so much, and I just really had to figure out like, well, okay, what's true to me? Like, I know in my heart that I am a good person. Like, genuinely, I have made some terrible decisions that have made me do terrible things, and I accept full responsibility. It didn't make me do anything. I did terrible things in those terrible situations, and I suffered from that guilt every minute of every day. It was compounded the longer I went on, of just like, I don't know, I just felt like everything was just hovering around me, just waiting to smother me. And then I got rid of all the people that were trying to smother me with alcohol, and I found some air, and I saw light again, and like I said, then it was crazy because I specifically remember like just having to like really rack my brain to think of the last time I was truly happy. Like I had to isolate that moment. And it's crazy because when I did, I isolated it to a moment that was spent with a friend of mine when we were very young, and her name was Angela, and now we're married. So that was a huge thing that just kind of happened. And like I said,
that was a very big story you told in a tweet.
Yeah, it was Hemingway, six words. So they, like I said before, I feel like the universe is really like, it kind of favors, fortune favors the brave. It feels like that now. It's the more chances I'm taking in pursuit of my own truth, which I know is towards the greater good, because I am a good person. And if I have impulse control, so I don't fear like being around bars or anything, I'm okay with that. But if I just follow my truth and keep going, like, it's kind of actually the easiest way to travel. I used to be afraid of my truth, but like you said, I just got to keep my eye on that, and that's a perfect guide.
This sounds unforgivably new agey, but for me, I found like so much of it is about sharing and forgiving. I'm fortunate to have some really fantastic friends and some great and fucked up and weird dude friends who are comfortable talking about everything and anything. There's so much stuff from being a young man, from being a drunk, from being a young man, from being a teenager, from being a kid, of like shit that you file away in your head where you're like, I looked up this girl's skirt in second grade. That's proof that I'm a predator. I'm a narcissist. Right. I'm a horrible person, and then, you share that story with a friend of yours, and he's like, "Oh man, I was sticking my dick through the fence to the dog crate trying to get the dog to lick it. Man, don't worry about it."
Exactly, exactly.
And it's just to have the courage and to have somebody you trust to be able to share those things and be like, I feel bad about this, and then I hope everybody is lucky enough to have a fucked up friend who's like, bro, that's nothing. Listen to this.
Everybody needs that. Everybody needs that friend, because and that's the advantage of what, you and I have kind of, we've been through hell, each our own personal, but we've kind of always kept our eye to the sky of like, I understand too much to not believe there could be something more. It's always just like, okay, I get suffering, but it has to be ultimately for a point, So I feel like those people that have those stories definitely provide a levity to everything, and the connections yeah, all you have to do is talk and you feel lighter, but talk
Yeah.
truthfully,
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest problems for me that I realized was that if I told my truth, people would hate me. And then I was like, well, what people? And then I made a list of people. And I was like, why do I care so much that these people hate me? And then I had to figure it out. And, it's, when you're talking about different truths and different groups of people, if your own partner or the person that you have the most intimate connection with, the most intimate relationship, if that's the person you can't tell your truth to, that's a sign something needs to change, because are you afraid they're going to get mad at you or leave you? Or, well, okay, then those things need to happen. That's the lesson is not going to get learned if that person is sort of, you kind of keep your guilt behind their wall. It just kind of, once you're open about who you are, then yeah, take your licks, and just get up again, and then fall down and get up again, and just keep doing it. And it's easier without alcohol, I'll tell you that.
One of the things I always do with my with my writing students is to break down the word discretion, which is dis-excretion, which basically not shit. So
interesting. Wow.
Discretion is the art of being able to tell food from shit. And and so I carry that one step further, and I ask my students to create their family, their literary family, their literary forebears, and also like the Thomas Pynchon, writer who people love and people celebrate, never done anything for me, has his work doesn't speak to my work.
Me neither.
So I have them choose an author they hate, or who just exists in a universe where it's that universe doesn't speak to this one. It's so emotionally intelligent what you did of being able to sort out like the people you give a shit about and the people you don't, and then to try to recalibrate there.
And it was never, it was never an aggressive sort of like, you don't fucking care about me, I can't be friends with you. It was a serious like, hey, I need to ask you something. How do you feel about me knowing this? How do you feel about me knowing this? And if my friends were willing to have honest conversations, then that meant that it was worth working on a reconnection.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, look, it's not everyone is for you. Not everything is for you. Know what is for you. It's not the ones that are for someone else. So, but obviously, you really have to fine tune your antenna, which means really actually understanding what drives you personally. It's just so individual and unique. And I think that when people realize how singular each other person's life experience is, then you'll realize how much we have in common. People are like, oh, you can't, everything's too singular. That means no one's going to do anything together. And no, it's not true. There's a humanity at our core that we want to communicate with other people. We just have no fucking idea how, It's not that I hated other people. It's that I hated that I didn't know how to talk to people. And I hated people that knew,
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think you hated the weight that you gave their opinions. You hated the anxiety that you brought on yourself,
Absolutely. But what conclusions could anyone have come to about anyone, you or I mean, it's kind of nice in being a musician in that is on stage. If you're doing it right, it's truly who you are. And side note, like that was a big part of during the pandemic when I was like, one of the biggest, like across the board, I am happiest on stage. Well, why is that? Oh, because that's where the pressure is off. And I was like, how is the pressure off on stage? But that's where I'm myself. And when I'm myself and I recognize that these people are here because they actually like Keith, not only, but they actually approve of me as a human because it's through the writing and my voice, then that means, oh my gosh, this is family. This is a community, you know? So it's not, you spend a few years trying to separate the people that like you and the people that don't, and then you play to the people that like you. So why should that be any different than the way you approach life? Like, I'm not going to go somewhere where I know nobody's going to listen to my music. I'm not going to try to play a show there. I'm going to go where people like my band. I mean, that's just good business, you know? So you should try to maybe, not you, but in general, just try to think about like, well, if I know that person, we don't get along, they don't see me, I don't see them, like see spiritually, or emotionally or intellectually, then why am I, that's not for me. Then I can find what is for me,
I feel like it's a Charlie Pride quote where he says, don't play to the empty seats.
Oh yeah.
And
great quote.
And that's, I mean, what you're describing here, I mean, I think is, what we've talked about sort of a lot through this conversation is the inability to communicate, or the inability to stop listening, when the communication isn't useful, to tune out the noise. And that's one of the things, seeing you guys play, seeing you perform, is seeing you in communication with people you love who love you. Great band. You're a great performer. I love watching you sing. I love watching you get into it.
Thank you.
And none of that will be as meaningful as watching a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kid watching their hero.
Oh yeah.
To see what it's like for them, to see what they're feeling, to see their fucking eyes shining and them smiling so hard that I'm like, your face is gonna hurt tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you'll have a voice the next day, but they won't, because they've been screaming harder than you have through the whole thing.
Totally.
And I don't know, I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you for moving on from the band. And also, you guys did it so long and so hard and so hard and so well, that it there's a vibe to it of like the Dead or Iron Maiden or or Funkadelic or something like that, of where there's a culture there, not necessarily kids in Every Time I Die onesies yet,
right?
But but you get the sense that like somebody is bringing their younger brother or their younger sister to the first all ages show, or the first show that they're able to get into, or whatever. That leads me to my next question, which is what's next? What's next for you? I know everything. You, and I know you'll be fucking making music till the day you die.
Yeah.
You're a hell of a writer. And
thank you.
I don't know, Keith, I can't think of anything that you couldn't do.
I can't draw. I can't.
Me neither.
Draw.
Me neither. I suck. God, I suck so bad.
I'm gonna try to learn how to paint. I think that's next for me.
The Lanigan, the last 18 months, he started doing charcoal drawings.
Really?
And they're phenomenal. I wish there was a way to get one, or to use one as an album cover or something like that. We'll see. I'm in touch with his widow, so
good. I'm really sorry about that. I mean, that hit the community, that hit the music community really hard. And then you were as soon as I heard the news, you were the first person I thought of, and I, for some reason, didn't reach out. I feel so bad for the people that knew him, not only through his music, but for you guys that actually knew him personally.
Thank you. It fucking sucked. It, definitely hurt. But now, it was a dark time, like not being able to listen to your favorite artist for, a month, 2 months, because you can't deal with that. But I can listen to his music again.
Did you see his music as life affirming, or the opposite?
Oh, absolutely. Mark, when we were doing the book, we were talking, he told this story about like waking up in rehab and his arms were all bandaged, because he had huge abscesses from, shooting heroin, and his hair had been, cut because he had dreads down to his ass.
Yeah.
And it was filthy. And he had this moment, he had this epiphany, a moment of surrender, where he sort of like, sent a probe up to the heavens, and somebody responded, and he was like, I fell to my knees and I was instantly changed. And I was like, Mark, that's fucking incredible, man. That's such a great story, and I was like, so that's it. So that, that was it for you, like, and he was like, oh, no. Then there was, methamphetamine and crack and still tons of heroin after that,
Wow.
And I was like, dude, and he was like, but that was the moment that I decided to try,
I get that. I do get that.
I had a long conversation with some of the people on the Lanigan subreddit about, because they're still fixated on the cause of death. And I was like, man, it hasn't come out. I'm not going to ask about it. It's probably not going to come out. And also, who fucking cares?
Right.
The point is that motherfucker lived bigger and harder and lovelier, more engaged than 100 other people, 1,000 other people. And how lucky are we to have been alive while that madman was still creating? Ultimately what killed him was life.
Yes. Yeah.
He ate too much of it too quickly,
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
It's, so, maybe it feels a little glib, but it matters less to me how he died than to know that he absolutely lived. That motherfucker was totally alive.
That's great.
Up until the very last moment, to
get to get that many years out of a life that difficult is no small miracle. It's crazy. I just feel like, people kind of look at it in different ways depending on how they sort of view themselves and their role in the bigger picture of all these things. And when you said that he kind of had his moment where he fell to his knees, and that's it, it to me it acknowledges the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you get to make a choice, and that's what being alive is making that choice and doing it truthfully and being like, look I could do this, but that's not me, that's just not me. And people struggle with that. So to know who you are and just fucking go, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mark had that thing that I think that you and I are sort of still working on, is that he knew absolutely who he was, what he stood for, what he stood against. He was still interrogating himself about it, till the very end, because that's an interesting question, but that doesn't mean that he didn't know, who he was and what he was about and what he was against.
Oh yeah. That's divine wisdom. To know who you are is divine wisdom, and the fact that people can know who they are at their core like him and still guess at how to adapt to the changing phenomena of the universe. That's truly growing, and that is being alive, is not just finding your fixed point and just setting up shop. It's putting roots in, but growing around it, and figuring out how to deal. And I didn't know him personally, but it sounds like he fucking figured out how to deal.
Yeah. The dude, we could talk all day, but I know you have shit to do. Give me a sneak peek.
You want something? You want something? I'll give you something.
Give me a hint of what's coming. Of what are you writing a thing?
Yes.
Are you making a movie? Are you doing a solo thing? Are you starting a band? Are you
I am.
Give me a whiff of it.
Okay, here's a little fragrance for you. So I figured out. Okay, actually, this. You know what? I don't know what I'm going to do next, and it's in your hands right now. So I think I figured out a way that I can tie Scale and Watch, my first two books, into the same universe, which means that I can then put them in each other's stories retroactively using the third one. So it sounds, so what I'm going to do now is I wasn't planning on this ever being a trilogy, but I'm going to flesh out the third part that I've already started, and see if it can make it a complete work. If not, then I'm starting to write a new book. I've signed 2 more with Rare Bird. So yeah, I'm working on that, and hopefully talking to you about writing some stuff. And
yeah, I will be nagging you to write a memoir till the day that we die, my friend. You have so many stories to tell.
Let's go. Let's get started. Let's not wait till the day I die to write a memoir.
Awesome. Keith, I love you so much, dude.
I love you so much.
So good to see your face and hear your voice.
So great.
And it's so good to know that like you made it through the fire, and
you too, man.
You know, you're here, you're back and fucking bigger than ever.
I feel better. I feel better than I ever have. And our friendship is very important to me. I mean, it's survived a lot. The fact that you and I have been through so much individually and still keep reconnecting, that's important. That's a sign that, I feel like we have a real good friendship here to work on now that I'm sober.
Let's just keep doing it, buddy.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Take care, brother. Good to see you.
I love you. You too, man. Take care. Yeah, peace.
Catching up with friends who are arguably more talented than him.
Well, hello there. This is Steve Jobs, the guy who invented the Apple. As you may know, I do a podcast thing where I just randomly record things about my favorite podcasts, and the Mishka Shubaly podcast, absolutely one of them. Everybody over here at Apple, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all the other billionaires working side by side in the factory here, we all love the Mishka Shubaly podcast, and we know that you love it too. So what we would love for you to do is head on over to the what is it called? I think it's just the podcasts thing. I don't know. Go over to Apple Podcasts and please rate and review my podcast. I mean, the Mishka Shubaly podcast. Give it 5 stars. It's incredible, groundbreaking work. Definitely, in the running for a Peabody. A MacArthur. It should win a prize. That's how good it is. Now, just 5 stars. Thank you. Steve Jobs signing off.